The biggest thing that's gone on over the internet is actually a point that goes back to Green Lantern as well. Their choice of casting. With Green Lantern, they had Ryan Reynolds, who is more famous for being comedic.
Yes.
And again, Chris Evans, the most famous thing that he's been in is the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
A very light-hearted role, being Johnny Storm. In both cases, both actors have actually been in very serious things. Now, if you can actually make it a kind of a general narrative about the two actors, considering the fact that they're both considered to be comedy actors, and yet they both had very serious roles as well. In Ryan Reynolds' case, like the remake of the Amityville Horror was a very serious role for him. In Chris Evans' case, Sunshine was a very serious role.
Yeah.
And he's done other sort of serious roles, even though he's played younger, more hip characters. That makes me sound really old, doesn't it? You wouldn't believe that I'm not even 30 and I'm using terms like they're young, they're hip, they're cool and all that, you know. They're with it.
Down with the kids, yeah.
Funky young kids, yeah. Their afros and their MP5s. Yeah, I know. But with both of them, famous for being comedy or comedic actors.
Yes.
Being asked to do incredibly serious roles, more so in Chris Evans' case because of him playing such an iconic character as Steve Rogers.
Again, I don't see that as a bad thing. I really don't. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a massive fan of Ryan Reynolds.
No.
Just to touch back on that one. That's just a personal thing. But having said that, I don't think that will mean that he's going to do a bad job. It's not that I don't think he's a capable actor. Just not a big fan.
He's just not somebody you connect to.
Yeah. Just not particularly a big fan. In terms of Chris Evans, I think actually it's going to be a great choice. I think, like you say, he has done some serious work, but also a lot of the time when people have done a lot of sort of comedic roles, it's partly because they need to work, actually. You know, people need to work.
It's the old Michael Caine line. You know, the jobs you like, jobs you hate, and the ones that pay the bills.
Exactly. You know, and he's needed that, but now he's got the opportunity to do a role which will pay the bills, let's face it, but also is going to show off just enough of his serious side. You know, there's with any comic book movie, I think there is always a sort of a fine line where it's not ever going to be considered to be the most serious role in the world, because it's just not.
Well, no, I mean,
you know,
it's big and colourful, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, and even to go through the sort of, even if you're looking at things like V for Vendetta, which is quite a serious.
Yeah, well, it's a very dark and very serious comic book.
Yeah.
Originally,
there is still an element to which it's still a graphic novel representation on film, and that is going to be the case with Captain America. Having said that, that doesn't mean to say that it's not going to be a serious production. That it's not going to actually show him off in the right light to the right people.
Well, you've seen pictures of the costume and how they're going to be going with it, and it's much darker in tone. So one could argue that the movie's going to be darker than the comic book movie would originally be thought to have been, as opposed to being sort of like very bright and colourful, like the old Captain America movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh, I've seen clips.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's colourful. It's a bit horrid, but you know, it's not going to be anywhere like that. It's not going to be hokey.
But that's a good thing. And having the darkness to the colours.
It makes a bit more sense considering the fact that it's, you know, something you're going to be wearing in World War II.
Exactly.
You don't want a great big navy blue thing just like running through there, do you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole camouflage thing on the bridge.
Well, yes. It's a Robin Williams joke of post September 11. He said in a stand-up that you end up having like a camouflaged unit on one end of the Golden Gate Bridge with a Humvee, and the same on the other end. Problem being, the Golden Gate Bridge is bright orange, you know. So it's just kind of standing out more than you want it to, really, you know.
You do just wonder why.
At the same time, you can argue that it's supposed to be a statement, really, but you know, it's a bit of a daft one, isn't it? Because you know, you see what's going on there.
But to sort of connect.
Find another way into San Francisco instead, maybe. You know, if you wanted to go there.
But with Captain America, I mean, the point is that he is not ultimately completely indestructible.
Yeah.
He can potentially.
But still, if you see him, you still get that.
if you saw
patriotic sort of impulse of
yes,
there's my flag, I must follow him kind of thing.
Yes,
you know?
but equally, if you're the enemy,
yeah,
and you see somebody in bright,
yes,
bright
from
shiny
a distance.
costumes going da da, here I come, then you're gonna go right. Everybody, forget about all of those people.
Just shoot the blue bugger over
That
there.
one.
Yeah.
Everybody aim for him. We've got a chance of getting him.
But then at the same time, if you see him right in front of you, it's brown trousers time, isn't it?
Well, yes, but you know, I do.
But there's the whole idea of the fact that you want him to close that gap from being in the distance to being right up to them or throwing a shield at them kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you want that last oh shit moment going through your brain when that shield's coming right at you.
Yeah,
so,
and
so it needs to be dumbed down.
It's got to be toned down a little bit. But I don't think they've toned it down too much. I mean, it's not like it's, you know.
So it's still the iconography, but without it being
it's not browns
stupid.
and greys, you know.
No.
But it's more plausible for the real world, shall we say?
Two other little points before I go on to something that directly connects with it. One being that there's talk of the fact that from the clip that was shown and from what has been reported from this clip, that the Red Skull is actually looking for what is basically the cosmic cube.
Yeah.
Which is famous in the comic book as being a big Deus Ex Machina, really, and an uber weapon for the Red Skull anyway.
Yeah.
But it also being loosely called the Terrasact, so it doesn't sound so comic booky, really, per se. But that it's going to be connected to Thor, that it's part of Odin's old gallery.
Right.
And that's really that the role of Odin is going to be the fact that he's going to be kind of like the ruler of pretty much the universe for all these Marvel franchises, really.
Which kind of makes sense.
Well, considering how powerful the character is.
If you consider how powerful the character is, and if you consider what you're trying to do with the movies there, which is ultimately connect them all up so that by the time you get to the Avengers movie, you actually can believe that all of these characters exist in the same universe and would have come together.
Yeah.
Or would be coming together.
Well, because you've already got Stark weaponry turning up in the Hulk movie.
Yeah, and there was a mention of it there in the Thor trailer as well.
Exactly, yeah.
You know.
And Mjolnir turning up at the end of Iron Man 2, so you've already got those connections as well.
Yeah, and it's actually got to make sense, but.
And to be fair, it's a really big thing to be dropping into something that's. I mean, they put such an effort onto making sure that Captain America looks like he should be in World War II, and making sure the story is sensible enough to actually make it almost a historic movie anyway, even though it's a comic book film.
Yeah, but it does need to be.
Then to drop the cosmic cube into it, you need to actually have some really good reason for dropping that in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, you actually really can't just.
Without having to go through hours and hours of backstory, it's probably better just to be able to drop the Odin name and just use that instead. Which
will make a lot more sense, and again, we'll connect it all up just little by little. But it's not throwing in too much, I don't think. And the danger with trying to connect all of these things up is that you try too hard, and that you sort of show, I've got to make sure that I've mentioned him, and I must make sure that I've mentioned that person, and if we don't show this particular thing here, then it won't make any sense. And it's really easy to make that really quite boring. But what they're doing is just throwing in little words, Stark Industries here and there, just Odin's name there. It's just about throwing that in, but not making a big deal of it.
What about just as a brief thing before we go to the next bit? Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull. Thoughts?
You see,
you're processing that, aren't you?
You see, I think that Hugo Weaving is underrated and has been in a lot of roles, because he's been given a lot of quite similar roles, although they are on the face of things quite different. A lot of the big characters that he's played are ultimately serious, stoic characters. So I think he's going to be quite good.
Yeah, you see him being able to play a Nazi lunatic, do you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I see him being able to do it with the sort of the edge of lunacy that you need, but without it becoming
comic booky.